Man, I'm stoked. Are you excited? You ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Welcome to Overcoming the Limits video and podcast series, where we interview extraordinary people and we dig into their psychology, their motivation, and their journey. My name is Trevor,
My name is Eric.
and we are here to ignite inspiration inside of each and every one of you listening and watching today. Yeah, Eric, I'm glad you're here, man. It's finally happening. I'm excited.
Yes, sir.
It's a long time coming. Been wanting to interview you for a while. Glad you're here. Really glad you're here.
Likewise.
So let's summarize for people listening what you are incline famous for. I have down that you are the 20th person to have joined the 500 Club. You did that on July 25th. I think you were the youngest as well. Is that right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, 24 years old when you hit that. And then you also recently did an Inclinathon.
I did. It was
How,
a lot of
how, did,
fun.
how did that feel?
I really enjoyed it. I feel like after like lap 7, my body just gets used to a certain level of pain, and I just stagnate there. It doesn't get any worse. It doesn't get any better. I just keep pushing through it. And I had all my friends there. Like John C. did 19 laps that day. Jacob was out there for my last two. Nicole and Isaac were there.
Yeah, you had
Rachel.
a lot of support.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes it easier for
Much
sure.
needed.
Can you summarize for everybody what the Manitou Incline is?
It's a big set of stairs for crazy people who like to suffer for fun. It climbs about 2,000 feet in elevation. It's about less than a mile long.
Yeah, so imagine getting in a helicopter and you fly up half a mile. Like that's how tall the incline is. And this guy's gone up and down it 500 times in the last year. So that's more than one a day. That's some days you're doubling and tripling. And like he just said, he did an inclinathon, which is 13 laps up and down in less than 24 hours. So super cool stuff. We'll dig into a lot of that. I also see that you recently were the record holder for the fastest. Was it the pirate flag?
Yes. So shout out to Matthew Devan. That was crazy. He beat me by 26 seconds, and I got a 13:19 on that, I believe. And that was like max effort, no holding back at all.
Yeah, and I see here on October 15th, he got 12:53. So
12, yeah,
he
it's
just
crazy.
nudged it down. Like, I mean, that's a big percentage when you're talking tight numbers like that. So,
Yeah,
super
that guy
cool.
is quick.
Very quick. So, what brought you to the Manitou Incline in the beginning? Like, why? How did you end up here?
So, first time I did it was 2017 or 2018. I don't recall. But I went with one of my friends from UCCS. I didn't have any running or hiking gear, so I was carrying like a big metal water bottle. I was wearing khaki shorts and like skate shoes because that's all I had. And it was a really hot day. We made it to the bar bailout. He had been to the top before. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I can keep going. Because I had done like hikes in Palmer Park and all that. I wasn't really into running at all at the time. And then a couple years later, 2019, I was up there with some friends of mine from work. One day we were all just hanging out after work. We were like, yeah, we should all do the incline. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I didn't make it to the top last time, so I want to go back for
What time of
revenge.
day was it when you went? Was it nighttime or was the sun
I
still up?
think
Or
it was in the morning.
and this was after work.
No, it was on a weekend. We were all off. But
Got it. Okay, starting the weekend off. Climbing the
yeah,
incline.
yeah, it was fantastic. Made it up. I think it took me like an hour and a half, but it was really cool. And we all got back to the car and we're like, we should do this again next week. And so we ended up doing it like 3 times that summer. And then I started coming out by myself, like maybe once a week, once every other week, just whenever I felt like it, really. And then 2020, beginning of 2020, before the coronavirus, um, I was talking to Jacob at New Year's Eve. And we're like, yo, we should start doing the incline like every week. I'm like, yeah. So
Yeah, that sounds easy. Every week,
Right.
once
Yeah.
a week, it's not much of a commitment.
So every Sunday from like January until March when they shut it down, Jacob and I would be up there. Um, Always super cold. I remember one day it was in the negatives for sure. I want to say like -9. I got a picture, like my mustache is all frozen over. It was so much fun. But yeah, incline shut down. I was just getting into other trails. And that whole time I was thinking like once they open this incline back up, I'm never taking an opportunity to go down there for granted. So when they opened it back up, I was out there probably twice a week. And then my goal for 2021 was to do 100 inclines, which I completed from January to October. And then October was when I met Rick and Bob. I was hiking around with
Other
them.
local legends. Those guys are
Yes,
nuts.
yes. Shout out
They
Rick Webb. Shout out Crazy Bob.
For real. In the last month in October, like that's insane what they did. They did over 200 inclines in October
Yeah,
alone.
ridiculous.
They each did that. So that's nuts. So yeah, you saw them, and then they probably ignited this inspiration. And
Yeah, that's when I started going for the 500. It's like I can be out here a lot more consistently, and I always enjoyed being up there. Figured I'd just go for it.
so you and Jacob, this is Jacob Godino.
Yeah.
So you and him go before starting the incline. So you've been friends for how long?
I met him in 2018.
Okay,
At
so it's
a,
been quite a few years then. All right,
yeah.
because I met both of you, I think, at the same time on the incline, of course. So you did? Does he work with you, or how do you know him?
No, so I was friends with his girlfriend Maddie since like 2016. She was one of the first friends I made out here. And then we all went to a concert together in 2018. We saw Jeff Rosenstock up in Denver. It was awesome. And then I was like, this dude's cool as hell. We should chill more. And now he's one of the best friends I ever had.
That's cool. What do you like most about him?
Just always encouraging to everybody, no matter what kind of mood he's in. Never bringing anybody down.
Yeah, I would
Just
say him and maybe like Mickey Flowers are the most positive people I've ever met.
yes,
It's
absolutely.
just like no matter what,
Mhm.
always ready to like hug you. Bob too, always ready to hug you, and just like no matter what they're feeling, they're
Mhm.
putting their best self out, and it's very inspiring. I want to be more like that.
Absolutely.
Like when I think of people that I want to be more like, Jacob's one of those people for sure.
No doubt.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you got to the incline the first time, did it partial, came back a few years later, and then you started really loving it. So, like, where were you in life when, you were able to commit to doing 500 inclines? Because that's a big time commitment.
Right.
Like, what allowed you to do that?
Um, I was working full time. I've always been working full time ever since I dropped out of college a couple years back. Um, I just figured what better use of my time than to climb a bunch of stairs every day for a
What did you
year.
like most about it?
Oh, but the 500, I would say just all the people I met and the experiences I've shared with them. And that's what got me into like doing more athletic things. Like I just did my first ultra yesterday, and I feel like the incline turned me from like a casual hiker into an actual athlete,
Cool.
which is really cool.
Yeah, I would definitely say that doing the incline as many times as you have has turned you into an athlete for sure.
Yeah.
So you just did your first ultra.
I did
It was the
yesterday.
bridge burner, is that right?
Yep, bridge burn to 50K. Well, I turned it into a 60K accidentally, but
What happened?
nevertheless. So I'll give you the rundown here. Everything was going great. Started out in, I forget the name of the park in Canyon City, Centennial Park. Started
Yeah.
out there, did a couple miles that were flat, and then we started up this big climb. It was like 1,500 to 2,000 feet. I don't recall, but I was hoofing it on that climb. I was passing everybody. I was feeling really good. I guess that's the only thing that Vertober trained me for was doing that climb because everything else was miserable. But got done with the climb, was feeling really good. Everything else was like flat or downhill for the next few miles after that. So I get to the aid station, fuel up, keep going down the road, and I make a wrong turn. and I did like this whole loop 4 miles around that I wasn't supposed to do. So the 32 miles it was supposed to be ended up being 37 miles.
Jeez.
Um,
At what point
it was
did you
great though.
figure out you were going the wrong way and like
When I got back to the aid station, then I was already at 4 miles ago.
they're like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Yeah. Yeah, they're all confused, like, no. And so I caught up with everybody else that I knew.
Even after going an extra 4 miles?
Yeah.
Dude, you're wild.
Still finished with like an hour and a half to spare, so that was cool. I was shooting for 5.5 hours, but next year I'll get it now that I know the course. Won't get lost. It was a cool experience though. Like, we got to run across that suspension bridge on the Royal Gorge. That was really
We're
sweet.
lucky.
After that, we were on this road that was full of tumbleweeds, dust, and wind blowing everywhere. I was with Dan List on that part, and we were just trucking through it. But yeah, the uphills felt great. It was the downhills and the flat parts that really took the toll on my quads.
Yeah, I bet, especially after what you did in October. So
Yeah.
you mentioned Verttober. So Verttober is a competition. It's an online competition. Who's it held by? I forgot the name.
Cirque Series.
Cirque Series. So it's do you want to explain it? You'll probably do a better job.
Yeah, so it's a virtual competition where they've been holding it for, this is the third year now, because it started during the pandemic. Um, Basically, you just log as many vertical feet as you can within 31 days of October. Um, Chris Fisher last year set the world record for most vert in a month at 400,000 feet. And this year there were 4 people that beat that. I wanted to go for it, but had to work full time and all that, so I couldn't make it happen. But I was still very happy with how I performed.
I mean, you still did, what was it, 5th place or?
Yep, fifth
Yeah,
place,
5th place.
330K. And then there's a teams option as well. So it's teams of 2. I was with Rachel Jones, the legend. I know it was almost 600,000 feet combined between us.
Dude, that's crazy. That's in outer space.
Outer space.
You've launched to outer
Space
space.
vert.
So I am interested in learning more about your background because you've done some huge accomplishments, and a lot of people listening might be like, but why? Why climb so many stairs for no apparent reason? Like the normal person sees it and then they go, why would you ever do that?
Right.
And there's got to be a motivation behind it. And I really want to figure that out. There's got to be a reason. Like, did you feel like you found your best self doing this?
Absolutely. Yes.
How so?
Just pushing the boundaries of what I thought was possible. Because ever since I started doing this, I've adopted the belief that everybody is capable of much more than they think they are. Like, everybody can do the incline once. It might take you all day. You might need to eat and take electrolytes on the way up, but anybody can get it done. Yeah, I mean, you've seen like amputees up there,
Yeah.
paraplegic people.
Very true. I've taken family members who are just like, no, I can't do that. And then they surprise themselves because it's just little stairs, but it adds up.
Right, yeah. But yeah, I was never particularly athletic before this. I mean, I did like track and basketball in middle school, but I don't really count that. Um, I was just sick of living a sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah, I get
And
that. It's like the concept that you mentioned. Everybody can do more than they think they can. It reminds me of a Goggins concept, right? Where it's the 40% rule. Where,
yes, yeah,
right? So the 40% rule is your max, what you perceive to be your max, is actually probably around 40%. And that's just usually where your body kind of starts to give off signals because your body's built to survive. And it will give off signals like your sides will hurt or your head's going to hurt or your legs will stiffen because your body is kind of freaking out. Like, what are we doing? Why are we going so hard? We could just sit down and watch TV and eat some chips. Why are we doing this?
Right.
So your body just instinctively, because it wants to survive, it puts out like lactic acid so that your muscles start hurting so that you'll stop running and things like that. So that's just the 40% where normal people will cut it off and be like, I'm drained, I'm done. You can go beyond that though, and it's a really cool concept because once you start to break that barrier and you start to go further and further, you really, in my opinion, you find your true self. Because I mean, I find my mindset changing whenever I start to get to those points, and really start to look inward and like figure out how to become a better person. That's my experience. I don't know about yours though. Like, what does it feel like for you when you go past that 40% and you're really hurting?
I feel like the pain just comes in waves. Like yesterday, it was around mile 19 where it's like, I'm done with this. But little did I know I was just about halfway done. So, I mean, I just pushed through it. I'm glad I had everybody to encourage me by my side. But I feel like that's where you really dig deep and find what you're capable of, is when you're in those moments where you want to quit. I mean, that's why I like doing like the big runs, like when I did the back slap or.
What's the back slap?
Oh, so the Pikes Peak back slap is you start at City Hall and you go all the way up Bar Trail doing the Pikes Peak Ascent standard route. And then when you get to the summit, you go down the Crags Trail until the trailhead, go back up the Crags Trail up to the summit of Pikes Peak, all the way down Bar Trail, all the way back to City Hall.
Oh, okay, so you go up and over and then right back.
Yep,
Okay,
yeah.
I like the name. That makes sense now.
Yeah, it was John C. posted about it. He did it on Strava one day. I was like, I got to try that out. I looked it up. There's an actual FKT route. And that's what I was going for. And I was on track to do it, but my knee pain, I had like right here on my knee, it was the initial climb. Right after I got past bar camp, my knee started hurting right there. I'm like, whatever, I'll just brush it off. No big deal. And then I got to the summit the second time. I started descending down bar, and I just couldn't run anymore. So I just had to hoof it down, hiking. It was rough, but got it done. I'm coming for that FKT next year, though.
That's a fastest known time. So what
Yes.
is the FKT for that back slap?
11 hours,
Jeez.
57 minutes, I want to say. Something like that. I might be wrong.
That's like 8,000 foot gain. Well, more because you go down again.
Yeah. In total with bar and crags, I believe it's like 12,500 feet.
Yeah, because you go all the way to the trailhead of the Crags Trail.
Mm-hmm.
Dang, man, that's intense.
It was
That
a
sounds
long
really
day.
fun, though.
I did that for my birthday. It's like, oh, how should I celebrate? How about doing the hardest thing I've ever done? That sounds fun.
I got a challenge for you then if you like these hard challenges. And now that you're done with the 500 club, you have time to do other things besides the incline now, right? Like
Yes. I'm looking forward to
This
it.
is involving the incline though, but there's two ideas. It's a 50 miler and a 100 miler. So the 50 miler is up the incline, down bar, over to Hiawatha and back. You do that route 8 times, and it's like 52 miles. Only me and John C. have done it. So are you going to be number 3?
I've given it some thought.
Okay.
I don't wanna confirm or deny anything, but I might go for it.
Yeah, that's a good route. And then I'm planning out a 100 miler. Have I told you about this one yet?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, you go up the incline, and then you go to Longs Ranch Road, down Longs Ranch Road to Ute Trail, and then to Red Rock Canyon and back. And it's a big figure 8. And, I mean, it's just going to be brutal. I don't know how long it would take, though. So I don't know if I'm in the athletic state yet to do it, so I'm going to keep training for it. But that's my next goal, is that 100 miler,
Awesome,
called the
yeah.
Incline 100 miler. So I want to go back a little bit, learn a little bit more about your backstory. So where were you born? Let's start there.
I was born in southeastern Wisconsin. Unfortunately. No, I got love for Wisconsin, but it just wasn't the place for me
Lots of corn.
as I'm drinking my chocolate milk.
Yeah,
Um,
lots of corn out there.
yeah, I grew up in a small town, about 5,000 people. So small we didn't even have a Taco Bell.
I love how that's your measure for a big town. Is if it has a Taco Bell.
We had a McDonald's and a Subway and like 15 bars, 10 churches.
So Wisconsin, I have some family in Minnesota, so I know that area really well. We go out there every year.
Nice.
It's like a family reunion, and it's crazy how once you drive out of the city after Denver, as you're heading that way, it's just corn for the rest of the way.
Yep.
Like there's nothing else except
That drive is miserable.
like it surprises me how much how much farmland there is in this country. It's just a lot of food is growing in this country at one time. And yeah, like all of Wisconsin is basically just stalks of corn and like soybeans.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then a lot of cheese too, right? Isn't that
A
Wisconsin?
lot of dairy, yeah. Yeah, dairy's huge out there.
So you told me you grew up in Wisconsin. Your family, they own a dairy farm or cheese farm?
Oh, that's my
How's
aunt
that
and
work?
uncle that live
Oh,
out
okay.
here in Black Forest.
Oh, okay, I'm getting my stories mixed up. We'll get to that
Oh
then.
yeah.
So what was it like growing up in Wisconsin then?
A lot different than out here. My high school graduating class was less than 100 people. Very small, very tight knit community. I don't know. I'd say it was good growing up there.
How old were you when you moved?
18. It was
Okay, so you
like
got up
3 weeks
and out.
after I graduated high school. I was out of there.
Peace.
But yeah, it wasn't the place for me. I had been visiting out here just about every year since I was like 7 years old, I think.
Family trips or on your own or?
Yeah,
Okay.
family trips.
It'd be kind of weird if, as a 7-year-old, you're on your own. Never
Yeah.
mind. Yeah.
But,
So family trips, and then as you got older, you're like, this is the place for me. So did you
Yeah.
come straight out here, or did you go around, or?
I came straight out here. I was enrolled at UCCS right after high school, so I went there for a couple of years. But yeah, didn't work out. But
Do
life
you have
goes
any
on.
like how big's your family? Is it just you as a kid, or
Yeah, no siblings, just my parents.
they still live out in Wisconsin?
No, my dad actually moved to Denver not last year, a couple of years ago, 2017. And then the day after I graduated high school, my mom moved from Wisconsin down to Florida. So she's been living there ever since. So that's where I'm usually at around Christmas time. I go down to Florida
Oh,
in
okay.
that
Yeah, it's
unbearable heat.
some sticky hot.
I can't do it. Like last time I was out there, I did a run. I did like 5 miles. And I'll tell you what, I'd much rather run at 10,000 feet with dry air than be at sea level with that horrible Florida humidity.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
like
do
Florida
it.
for about 2 days.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
I'm like, I want to go.
Mhm.
I'm sticky and
Not
it's
for me.
hot and it's salty and stuff. Okay, so I'm hearing. I guess your parents they separated at some point
Yes.
in your childhood. How old were you when that happened?
12 or 13.
Okay, my parents divorced when I was in second grade, and I can't remember how old that is. I think that's like 9 or
8 or 9.
8. Yeah. Oh, my daughter is in second grade. She's 7, so 7 years old. So your parents divorced when you were 12 or 13, though. That's quite a different experience because you're a lot older. You understand things a lot more.
Mhm.
How did you process that? That's kind of a hard thing to go through.
I feel like I sort of expected it at a certain point. I wasn't like super torn up about it. They both went their separate ways and ended up being happier than ever. So
Okay, so
I'm happy for both of them.
it was kind of like a good split, and they have like
Yeah.
an amicable relationship, and they get along. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's always the best scenario. Mine was the opposite. I was in the middle of both parents, and it was rough, especially at like such a young age too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you had that experience. So that's awesome to hear. So you moved down. Where'd you first start working when you were down here?
DP Dough. I worked there for a while. Hated it. I was a delivery driver.
Is that DP Dough? Is that pizza or donuts?
That's that calzone shop over
Oh,
by
okay.
like Austin Bluffs in Nevada. Worked there for a while.
So you're a delivery guy dropping off calzones?
Yeah, that was when I was in college too. So, and I worked a late shift, so I'd be working to like 3 in the morning sometimes. Then I'd have to be.
People are ordering calzones at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And then I'd have to be at class the next day at like 9 in the morning. So that was rough. That took a toll on me. That was part of the reason I had a lot of burnout in college.
Yeah, it's like
'Cause
when
I
you
didn't have the
sleep,
motivation to finish up.
you're just so tired all the time, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to college too, and then I like got a semester in, and then I dropped all my classes, and I started doing like IT certifications, and I found a path that way into a career.
Nice.
So that was the direction I went. So where do you see yourself in like 5 years from now? Like, do you think you'll still be in Colorado or?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I love it out here. I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, there's maybe not in Colorado Springs. I've been thinking about moving around a little bit if I can secure a good job. But yeah, no, Colorado's the place to be. This is
Yeah,
where
that's
I
probably.
belong.
I don't think I want to leave ever either.
Mhm. Yeah, especially right here. I mean, you got probably the best place in Colorado, right next
Yeah,
to the
it's right.
incline.
It's trails right out your front door.
Yeah, you gotta love it.
Yeah. So, what other places in Colorado have you been to that you're kind of thinking about going, living in? Where do you see yourself?
I really like the Western Colorado.
Like the
Um,
Grand Junction area?
like Buena Vista, Salida around
Oh,
there.
out there. Okay.
I mean, even Canyon City. Like, I was just out there yesterday. And, like, this place is gorgeous. Cool trails. That's the one thing for me. Like, it's got to have some nice, ooh, some nice trails.
Yeah, you got to have trails. That's for sure. We were just talking about this Pikes Peak Atlas before we started, and this map is of the Pikes Peak region. And do you know the history behind the Pikes Peak Atlas?
I don't know.
So the guy at the top, you see it says Robert. I can't read that from here. Robert Orms.
Yeah.
So that was Robert Hudek's mentor, from what I've read online, and he is a local cartographer with Robert Hudek. And this is a hand-drawn map, and he spent the last 6 decades of his life researching this area, hiking everything, and drawing that map. And it is the most accurate map of this region anywhere. The scale zooms in more, and it has more detail than even the National Geographic maps. So it's fantastic. It's really cool. So I always take them wherever I go. And one time I got lost. I was bushwhacking and I got lost. Completely turned around and the sun was going down. But I had that, and I was able to like see some peaks that I recognized, and I got out because I had that map.
Nice.
I lost phone signal. I didn't have. This was way in the beginning when I was here in Colorado. I didn't have. Like Cotrex is a really good mapping app with GPS that works even when you lose signal. I was using All Trails, and
Oh,
you know,
I know.
I was using All Trails, and like when you lose phone signal, you lose service, and it doesn't work anymore. And I was just this dot, like on a map, and there was no detail. And yeah, it kind of spooked me. So that's when I really figured out I got to start learning the mountains better. So you can see all the highlighted spots. I've climbed all these peaks out here. So I wanted to get to a point where I could get dropped off anywhere in the woods and know where I was and figure
Nice.
my way out. So once you start to learn the high profile peaks, it's easy to kind of get around. But you were just talking about North Cheyenne Canyon and wanted to hike more out there. Have you ever been there?
A while ago, a few years ago, I think I did like Mount Cutler and Mount Muskoka. I think I haven't done like Rosa or really anything over there.
Yeah, there's some good peaks back there. Tenny Crags is a fun one. I used to do some group hikes, and I led like a group of 12 people up Tenny Crags. And then Garfield and Arthur are probably Garfield's my favorite one out there.
Yeah.
I got some fond memories of when we first came here, and probably 5 or 6 years ago. And it was October. Aspens were changing, and I had gotten to the top of Garfield, and I figured out a cliff to stand on, and it just opened up, and the whole field, like the mountain, the hillside, it's right at the base of Runs Down Fast Mountain. That whole mountain range was just yellow, and it was really pretty.
Ooh.
And do you know the feeling of being on the top of a peak and it's just you and you're all by yourself?
Yeah.
You know
Love
that where it's pretty peaceful, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like when I think of the most peaceful moment in my life. I think of that moment,
Nice.
just kind of like sitting there, feeling the wind, just super hard wind, just blowing on me because I'm on top of this peak, and it's just so beautiful though. And yeah, that's one of my favorites. Going up Rosa, there is a cliff. It's called man, I forgot the name of it. I'm rusty. There's something off the bushwhack off Mount Rosa that's really cool too. You can see it from the Cheyenne Mountain parking lot.
Awesome.
But yeah, it's good out there. So let's talk about okay, so you started doing the incline little by little. You got to the point where you're motivated to do it 500 times. So you felt like there was some growth that you did as a person across this 500?
I think so. There was a point in my life before the incline where I would just get easily frustrated, and now at this point in my life, it's like I just compare every hard thing I have to do to the incline or like one of the long runs I've done. Like, yeah, this sucks, but it's gonna be over soon, and it'll be a rewarding experience.
That's a good lesson to have. I need to do more hard things because it's been a while. But I do remember, like, I did an Inclinathon a year ago.
Mhm.
I think a year to this day. It was the last year when the time zone changes
Oh yeah,
happened, or the time changes, which just happened today, right?
yeah. Was it yes? Yeah, today. Yeah.
Yeah. So it must have been a year ago today. Did the Inclinathon, and yeah, I remember thinking back, like, well, at least it's not as hard as the Inclinathon.
Right. Yeah.
Or recently going into the creek, the Cold Creek dips.
Yeah.
You did that once with me, right?
Yeah. It was summer though. I haven't done like the single digit ones like you have.
Oh man, you will this summer? I mean, this winter though. Will you do it?
I hope to. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we like to go to this creek, Ruxton Creek, and get in that cold water, 32.4-degree water, bust through the ice, and just lay in that creek. It's pretty weird feeling how like it's so cold that your skin stings and it like
Hmm.
is strange, especially if it's below zero outside. It's like warmer in the water than it is outside.
Yeah.
So
That's wild.
it's really strange, yeah. But man, just laying in that cold water, it like sparks your body up. Like everything changes mentally.
Hmm.
It's an immediate mental change. It's pretty powerful. So I'm interested in what other ways, like as you were going through this 500, you said that so you started having more emotional regulation, kind of understanding your anger better because you said you get frustrated more. Was there anything else? Like what other memories do you have of going across this journey?
Um. Say just having interactions with people who have a really positive mindset. That helped me think more like them. Like we were talking to Jacob, Mickey, Bob. I'd even throw like Catherine and Rachel in there.
Oh, for sure.
He's always shining bright, always with a positive attitude, and just being around people like that, and surrounding yourself with people who have good energy, it tends to bring out the best in you.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some pretty amazing people I've met on the incline, and all the names you're saying 100% true. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of great things to learn from those people. So, what was your like when you're going through a lot of these climbs on the incline? Uh, it's easy to get injured and hurt. Sometimes people have these crazy stories about tripping and falling and like rolling downstairs or what are the what did you ever get any type of injuries doing this?
Not any major ones. Like there were a couple times where like I had shin splints a few months ago. They were just intensified by the incline, but it was on me for being stupid because I ran like 17 miles on pavement the day before with no preparation for it, which I'll never do again, by the way.
Shin splints are the worst.
Um,
It's like
yeah,
they take forever to go away too,
yeah,
right?
they're terrible. Um, just like regular aches and pains.
Did you do anything to keep the injuries away?
I just try to stretch every day. Like before the incline, I'll do like dynamic stretches and
Okay.
try to do stationary stretching when I get home.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to do it. Like, what's your favorite dynamic stretch? What do you do the most?
I usually do the like this guy. Oh, it hurts right now. And like across like this.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Dan List showed me this one. We just
Back
go
and forth that way.
But yeah, it seems to help a lot, especially days where I'm going for speed. It's really important to get limber.
Yeah, you're pretty quick, man.
Like you see Sean Urchinger up there all the time. He's always stretching beforehand and getting loose, and he'll throw down like a 25 up, 7 down. Guy's insane.
Yeah, well, you're pretty quick too. I was looking at the fastest times for an up and down, and I think you were in the top 5.
I did, yeah. The goal was to get under 35 minutes. I was like 4 seconds off, but I'll come back and do it again.
Man, that's
I'm sure I'll
wild.
be here.
Like, when did you start to break the sub 30 minutes going up?
So number one out of 500 was my very first sub 30. And then throughout my 500, I had a few sub 30s. I think I got down to like a 28 or 27 something during the 500. And then after I finished all those climbs, I had a couple of weeks where I was just going for speed. And one day I threw down a 26, and then I got my PR 25:45 going up.
So 25 minutes, 45 seconds going up, and then you turn around and you run down as fast as you can also to try to make a quick
Sometimes
lap.
if I'm feeling it, yeah.
I mean, I'm just trying to get to see how low I can get my one single lap, and so far I'm at about 50 minutes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part is when you put everything you can going up, you're so burnt out at the top. It's like
Right.
really hard to have a competitive time coming down. So when people can do, like you just mentioned, 25 up and 7 down, it's just mind blowing to be able to go that fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. So, like you were just on fire that day when you went up and you turned around, you came down real quick and you got 5th place for fastest lap time.
Yeah, I think it was like 10th place, something like
Oh, is it
that.
10th place? Okay.
I don't know. I was still on the leaderboard, but yeah, I was just feeling really good that day because there was that whole week I was going for records because he showed me that incline 5K. I got the record for that, and then an hour later, Sean comes by, smokes me by like a minute.
Ah,
I was like, but I think I did my fastest double that week too. I got an hour 14 for up down up down. Um,
yeah, there's a lot of different
yeah,
combinations you can do. I know recently
yeah,
you've been doing like Cameron's Cone a few times, right?
yeah. I did a few Cameron's Cone ascents this summer. That's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, I saw you breaking some Strava. You got the little trophy next to your name so often on Strava
Yeah,
because you're breaking these records left and right.
I really want the Magog downhill record. I just got to beat Brandon Stepanovich, who,
That's hard to beat.
yeah, if anybody knows anything about Brandon, that guy's a menace on the downhill and uphill too. Just
Yeah, I
real
remember
athlete.
a year ago when I did my Inclinathon. I hadn't met Brandon yet, but I guess he knew me, and he passes me all fast. Hey, Trevor! I'm like, oh, hey, who's that? Brandon. And then he just kept passing me as I'm going. Like,
Yeah.
he probably did 7 inclines the time it took me to do 2 because I was so slow halfway through, and he was just like going fast. And he has the record for the most in a day, 22 laps in 24 hours. It just is. That's crazy.
hmm
It's like little over an hour for every lap is just wild.
Yeah, like I officially met him a couple weeks ago. He was at my 500 with Zach Miller, but they were just there for a second. It was cool running into them, but I was running down with Brandon was there, and I was running down with Rick and Bob as well, and that was just crazy being up there, all 4 of us. And then Brandon comes down. He's like, "Yo, I see you out here all the time, man. What was your name?" I'm like, in the presence of greatness, I'm like, Eric. It was really funny.
You're all stuttering.
Yeah.
What is my name? So you got the 500 done. Are you going to do another 500 or is that done and gone?
I was thinking about it because I already did. I think if you tally up all the from bottom to the top that I did last month, it was like 158 total. Um,
Dang, that's like a
yeah, I
third
don't
of the
know
way
yet.
there already.
Yeah, I don't know. Still be consistent with the incline, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, I won't be upset about it.
The one thing I've learned from all these interviews is everyone who does the 500 club, they have like addictive personalities where they find a thing and they just get really good at that one thing.
Hmm.
And that's the incline for sure. You're really good at that. You can take that to any mountain too and just crush it. A lot of people will say after the 500 they want to go for all the 14ers, things like that. Do you have an interest in kind of branching out and seeing different parts of Colorado and doing those 14ers? And
Yeah, sort of. I've done, I think, like 6 or 7 14ers. I enjoyed them, except Bierstadt, never again.
Too many people or what?
Yeah, so many people. So my beer stat trip was a bit of a nightmare. I slept at the trailhead the night before. It was like me and two other cars in the parking lot. And then my alarm didn't go off, so I woke up at 7 in the morning.
Oh, jeez.
So parking lot was full, whole bunch of cars on the street. And I'm like, man. And so I was just climbing up.
I wonder
Just,
how many
on your left, on your left.
I
That was
wonder
rough.
how many hundreds of people saw you sleeping in the car.
Oh, probably so many.
And you were passing everybody because you were trail running, I guess, and
Yeah, I was
passing
just
them on the left.
trying to go as fast as I could. I just wanted to get it done.
Yeah, I was looking at fastest known times. Seth Damore, I think, has Bierstad fastest time.
Yeah, I think he's got a bunch of 14ers. I know he's got Grays and Tories, maybe Albert. I know I'm missing one. But yeah, that
Yeah, that
guy's
sounds
crazy.
right. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So were you able to run the whole thing up?
No, that was before my 500, so I was still like more into hiking. I ran down the whole ways, but I was just sort of taking my time, enjoying it. It's a beautiful mountain. There's really cool scenery out there, but never again.
Yeah, that's true. There's tons of people that will do. That's probably a first 14er for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That one, and then Grays and Tories, and
Mhm.
there's a handful, probably a dozen in that area that people usually will start with.
Yeah, Pikes was my first, and then I did Grays and Tories for my second and third. That was really enjoyable.
Yeah, I've only done Pikes Peak like
Oh, yeah.
a handful of times. I want to do more, but just haven't had the time
Yeah, I hear
really
you.
with the two little kids. But yeah, they're pretty fun stuff. It's pretty fun stuff. I think my favorite though is going off the beaten path and like truly bushwhacking. I love to do
Yeah.
that. Do you like to do that?
A little bit. I haven't done it as much as I'd like to, but it's something I'd like once I have a watch with a decent GPS on it, so I don't get lost. It's definitely something I'd like to venture into.
Yeah, especially if you're going to do trails and peaks that are in this area, like on that
Yeah.
map. There's some pretty good ones that you can only get to if you bushwhack. You just have to know the terrain, see the peak, and then just kind of start carving your own path straight up it.
Hmm.
So that's definitely some fun stuff to do. Let's see. So, what type of like relationships would you say grew the most in the last year of you doing the 500 club? So, like, were there certain people that you got a lot closer to than others, and that you learned the most from?
I think during the 500, probably the people that were on pace with me to finish the 500 around the same time. So like me, Ron, Jacob, and Dan List. I think the four of us grew really close.
Yeah, I always see you guys in photos and stuff.
Yeah.
You guys look like you're
Pedro
tight.
too. I'll throw Pedro in there because he finished around the same time. And
Yeah.
he was always out there at night climbing with us. Specifically in October, I became really close with Rick and Bob, just because we were always out there every day, just grinding it out.
Yeah, man.
They were supposed to be at the Ultra yesterday, but Bob took the whole month of October off. He's like, I got to spend time with my family. I'm like, I totally get it. Rick was still hurting from October, which also totally understandable.
Yeah, I probably would never want to do the incline again after doing
Yeah.
it for 200 plus times in a month.
Yeah. I think Rick went back like 2 or 3 days after that. He threw down like a 27 or a 26.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had messaged him and I was like, man, I bet your legs hurt, huh? And he said, no, I feel great. I'm already running. I'm actually running right now.
Nice. I love that guy.
He was running with his dogs. It's crazy. I guess the best way to not feel sore is to just not stop. Just
Yeah.
every day, just go hard and just never quit.
That's like Rudy. He's running every single day. I saw he threw down like a 50 miler one day. Then the next day he's already running again.
Oh, yeah, when he was going around
This
Palmer
dude
Lake
can't be
over and
stopped.
over again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's telling me about that story. Yeah, he's run every single day for like the last year, I think was his challenge.
That's
and he's
crazy.
gone over, I think, 1,500 miles. A lot of miles. That's like
Yeah.
running across well, I guess that's like almost running across the United States from one coast to the other.
Yeah.
That's really far. Man, so what kind of like hobbies do you have outside of hiking and climbing?
I like to go to a lot of concerts, all sorts of music, really. Like I just, my favorite band of all time is Rage Against the Machine. I've been listening to them for as long as I can think back. So I recently flew out to Wisconsin. I bought these tickets March of 2020, and so
Oh, of
obviously
course.
it got postponed for 2
At
years.
least they didn't cancel it.
Yeah, which I was really stoked about. And so I saw them when I was 9 years old on their first reunion tour. My mom took me at Alpine Valley in Wisconsin, and I had to be the youngest person there, no doubt. And
How old were you again?
I was 9.
9 years old.
Because I remember she bought the tickets. She's like, "We're never gonna be able to see these guys again. We gotta go." And that was amazing. And so when they announced this other tour, I texted my mom. I'm like, "I'm getting the tickets. You buy the plane tickets. We'll go." And so it was at the same venue we saw him at last time.
Wow, that's
And
amazing.
yeah, Run the Jewels opened up for
How many
him.
years later was it? You were 9, and then how old were you when you saw them?
24.
Okay, so
That was
15 years.
yeah, and that was like the last tour they did was back in '07. So they hadn't played a show in a really long time.
So you got to see him with your mom at the same venue,
Hmm.
same band. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was
That
incredible.
must have been a great experience for you.
Absolutely.
You feel like you're close to your mom?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably maybe one of the type of things that bonds you a lot with her because it was such an early memory.
Yeah.
Do you see concerts with her often, or is it just this like
Every
special?
once in a while, like I saw the Black Keys and Modest Mouse with her a couple of years back because we'd always wanted to go see the Black Keys, and they came to Denver a couple of years ago, and she got the tickets and flew out, and so we saw them. But yeah, I just whenever there's a band rolling through that I really like, I try to score tickets for it and see who wants to go.
That's awesome. You see a certain type of artist and type of band, or
I'm
does
all
it
over the
range?
place. Like I went to the last show I was at was up in Denver at the Gothic Theater. It was this death metal band, Blood Incantation. They're from Denver. They're very good. I was listening to them on the way here actually. But yeah, that was sort of a spur of the moment thing. I got a buddy who's really into death metal. I'm like, yo, we should go to this. So we checked that out. I saw your buddy Jake. We were at the same show at the Black Sheep like a couple months ago, Soul
Yeah,
Glow.
yeah. I
I didn't
remember.
know he was there until you sent me that picture. He had the same shirt as me. I was like, no way.
Totally forgot about that because I remember I saw you earlier in the day, and I remember the shirt, and then I saw him, and I was like, that looks familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent you that
Awesome.
picture of him. He's just sitting on the couch wearing it. That's funny.
Yeah,
You guys are right
that's a
next to
good
each other.
band. Shout out to Soul Glow.
Yeah, that's great. So how often do you try to go see live music?
As often as I can. I mean, whenever there's an artist that piques my interest, I'm trying to get tickets for it. Like I just saw My Chemical Romance on right before October started, and that was their first show back in I don't know how many years. I remember being like 12 or 13. I cried when they broke up, and they just did their reunion tour. And that was the same scenario with Rage. Like I had those tickets for like 2 years. It just kept getting postponed, but finally got to see that, and it was unforgettable. But yeah, I'm into like metal, rap, I like folk music, punk, pretty much anything.
Uh, yeah, the most recent live music I've seen, we saw me and my wife. One of her favorite music artists is Florence and the Machine. Have you heard of
Nice.
her?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we saw her. I think it was about a month ago. It's pretty cool.
Awesome.
It was,
Yeah.
it was very theatrical. And in the beginning of the show, there's always like a smaller person playing in the beginning to open it up,
Hmm.
and these lights were just pointed right at us, these spotlights, and I thought, I cannot believe that we spent this much on these tickets, and the spotlight is just shining right in our eyes the whole time. And luckily, it was just for the entry person, the opener, and then it all changed and stuff, and we were so relieved. But yeah, I just remember being like the spotlight was shining right at us,
Yeah.
messing with us. So do you collect anything? You got any collections or?
Uh, I got a pretty decent book collection. I used to have a pretty sizable record collection, but I kind of got out of that and gave a bunch of my records to my little cousin. But I mean, right now it's just collecting race memorabilia, and like I just got my prizes for Max Bird October today. Got the Yeti bottle, and they gave me like a belt buckle.
I saw
That
that.
was
Yeah,
cool.
those are
Yeah.
neat. They
Um.
go all out on the gifts.
Yeah.
They send a lot out to the top 10, I think, or the top
Yeah.
5.
Top
Or
5 for each gender. So I got for individual and teams. I got a total of $450 of credit to spend on backcountry.com.
dang,
So that's like all outdoor gear and stuff.
you got an idea of what you want to get already?
Yeah, I've been snooping around on there. I saw that. So my favorite movie of all time is The Big Lebowski, and they have the Pendleton sweater from The Big Lebowski on there. I was thinking about getting it, but there's like so much more practical gear on there that I could totally use.
Like actual stuff that would help you.
Right? Yeah. Like, I should probably get more shoes. Um, I'm gonna get a race pack for sure because I borrowed one from Rick for the race yesterday and I loved it.
So what kind of, you mentioned you collect a lot of books,
Yeah,
like novels or
sort
what
of.
kind of concept?
I like
What
some old
genre?
school. I like Kurt Vonnegut, some of his stuff. I gotta get with Steve Sturmer because he was talking about. I got a copy of Slaughterhouse 5, and he was looking for a copy of Slaughterhouse 5. I'm like, oh, I'll just bring it out here next time I'm here. I keep forgetting. Um, but yeah, just older stuff. I like Bukowski. A lot of political stuff.
I've heard of Bukowski. He has the drug experience books. Is that right? Like psychological and is that right or wrong? Am I thinking of somebody else?
Ah, Bukowski's books, at least the ones I've read, it's all like how he's a miserable alcoholic degenerate. It's interesting stuff.
What aspect of that do you get from that? What do you like about that?
Um, just the fact that somebody lives like that and is able to tell the tale. Like with his stuff, I feel like it just blurs the line between how he actually lived and how he perceived his life to be.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah,
2000.
he was a dirtbag, but he wrote some decent books.
Yeah, he looks pretty interesting. Every picture has him smoking cigarettes.
Yep.
Every single one. So, man, what's like the next big goal for you?
I was thinking about it yesterday as I was suffering out on the Royal Gorge. I want to do a 50 miler and then eventually work my way up to a 100 miler.
Ah.
Um,
So then that 50-mile challenge that I just asked you of,
Perhaps
that's actually kind of,
that might be on the
might be
plate.
I'll do it with you. I've been wanting to do it again.
Sweet, yeah.
Yeah, well, when I did it, Bob was also trying,
I remember that.
and yeah, and I started 6 hours before him. I really wanted to be the first person to get it done because I thought of the route and stuff, and I told Bob, and then after I told him, I thought I shouldn't have told him because he's gonna do it faster than me now.
Yeah.
But that motivated me to keep going, and I started 6 hours before him, and then he ended up catching up and then lapping me, and unfortunately he twisted his ankle like 38, 40 miles into it, and it was so swollen.
I remember that. It looked like a softball.
It was
was
just like a
ridiculous.
softball. Yeah, it was. He always twists his ankles. Didn't he do that in
All the
October
time,
too?
yeah. He's always hurt.
He goes hard though. That's
But
why.
yeah, he'll just bounce back the next day like nothing happened. It's wild.
Yeah. I don't. It's crazy, but he ended up hurting himself, and then I kept going into the night, and I think it took me like 22 hours to do the full thing. So let's see. John Carmichael recently did it, May 12th. He did it in 16 hours, 55 minutes. Man, that's fast. He beat me by like 6 hours. It's good stuff. So 50 milers. It's a lot of time to think.
Yes. I feel like yesterday I didn't have my headphones in or anything. The only thing I was thinking about is like, I just gotta keep pushing. It was like trying to motivate myself. I had the voice of Crazy Bob in my head. No thinking, just going. Yeah,
That's one of his famous quotes. He said
absolutely.
that a lot last month. Man, I love that guy. So you find yourself thinking about kind of just internally motivating? Is that really what most of your thoughts are
I
as you're
think
going
so.
through?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting because when I get really exhausted, I start like introspectively looking at myself and like the decisions I've made and like kind of like how to become a better person. And do you ever have deep thoughts like that or like critical thinking like that?
Every once in a while, yeah.
Okay, because I get kind of stuck on that sometimes, and that's kind of a problem I have where I just get kind of stuck in that cycle.
Mhm.
It would be nice to just be able to let go. And
I hear you. Yeah.
do you find yourself living more in the moment in your life? Like,
That's what I strive to do. Yeah.
yeah,
Um.
you don't ever get stuck like looking backwards.
Oh, I do.
You do?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely something I've always struggled with, but just for the most part, just try to live in the moment. Can't change the past. Might as well just keep moving forward.
Yeah, I like that. That's good stuff. Any? Did you see any bears when you were doing the
No,
500?
but apparently after Ron crossed the bridge, the Royal Gorge Bridge, he saw it was like a whole herd of bighorn sheep just like chilling in this field. He took a picture of them. He got to the finish line. He showed us. It's like, man, I wish I didn't miss out on that.
So you were in front of him or behind him?
I was in front of him. He was actually the last person to finish. He did awesome though.
Yeah, that's great. Anyone who beats the cutoff time is doing excellent because those
Yeah,
are
he
hard
got there
cutoff
a
times.
minute before the cutoff. It
Whoa,
was
cut it
impressive.
tight.
Yeah.
Were y'all yelling like, "Run!
Yeah, we were screaming.
You have a
Let's
minute!"
go.
Yeah,
But
that's great. So you must have ran by those bighorn sheep and didn't notice,
yeah,
or they walked
maybe.
up
I
later.
think that might have been the part where I was just too pissed off to care about anything except finishing the race. But yeah, it was wonderful. Big thank you to Dan List and Catherine for helping me out at the end there when times were tough.
What did
Um,
they do to get you through it?
just ran alongside me. 'Cause I got to the aid station, I saw Dan List there. I'm like, Dan List, screaming. Went with him for a couple miles, and then he ended up passing me. And then there was one part where I was stopped because I had like this big blister on my foot. I was like flipping my sock inside out so it wouldn't hurt so bad. So I did like a half mile without my shoe, and I put my shoe back on.
Without a shoe on?
Yeah, it was terrible. And then right after I put my shoe back on, I saw Catherine coming up behind me, and so I ran with her for a couple miles, and yeah, just talking to her and having her there definitely made it a lot easier, or at least it felt that way.
Well, yeah, she's super easy to talk to, and
Hmm.
she's so positive too. So definitely a great person to bump into when you're feeling like you're going through a rough moment,
Absolutely.
for sure. Well, cool, man. It's been nice talking to you and learning a little bit more about you. You're pretty inspiring.
I'll try.
Keep doing some cool stuff. I'm excited to hear about this 50 miler that you're going to get done here in the next couple weeks. No?
Maybe. I think I'm gonna build up my training a little more. Try to do like 50 to 75 miles a week, and
When do
then
you want to get your 50 miler? Let's set a date right now.
um,
December?
I was thinking like March or April.
Oh,
I
okay.
want to do like a sanctioned race because I saw Aravipa. I think it's Aravipa. They got an event around here. It's like a 50K and a 54 miler. So I might be all in for the 54
That's
miler.
a
I
good,
just got to build up to that.
yeah. And you can do an unsanctioned one earlier too.
Yeah,
You could always use that as practice and stuff. Well, cool, man. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me for an hour.
no doubt. It was a pleasure.
Cool.